Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym Podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1885. The topic is mindset and the title is Perspective versus Reality. I did a virtual consultation, just say that word very weirdly, a virtual consultation, there we go, with a trainer this week who's struggling with esophagitis. They have inflammation of their throat, their esophagus, which is leading to feelings of persistent heartburn. And they're struggling because they want to eat more. They want to be a bodybuilder, they want to grow some muscle, but they're just struggling to eat enough. I talked with another person who is a lady, and she's struggling with a recent diagnosis of gastroparesis, which is a slowed digestion in the intestines. She's struggling with undereating. She wants to eat more healthy foods, but she can't eat enough healthy food because it digests too slowly. So instead, she eats higher calorie, not so good for you foods, and therefore her body weight isn't too much, but she doesn't look and feel good. She's kind of eating crappy foods to hit her calories rather than good foods, so the body composition isn't there. And her daily energy is crappy. I mean, just nothing is really going well for her. Now, for both of these clients, I was able to help. I was able to get them helpful information. We've already, started. But what was interesting is I was able to help not only due to my education, but because I have the same conditions. I have esophagitis, and I take medicine for it. I have gastroparesis, and there's not really anything you can do with that. I've just had to figure out how to adjust for it. But it was interesting that I was able to help both these people, and it was similar to something I've actually gone through. And that's actually something that's an oddly familiar path through my coaching history. I've had a couple of things like that. So I tore my meniscus one time, and I was talking with a client, just standing there, showing them how to do the external knee rotation in a sumo deadlift. And I was standing there, wasn't even holding anything, and I was just saying, you want to rotate, don't let your knees rotate in, and I showed them that. I said, you want to rotate your knees out. And all of a sudden, I felt this sharp pain, and then this heat in my knee, like a wet heat. And I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, whatever that was isn't good, I'm sure. And it turned out I tore my meniscus, and I started figuring it out, how to fix it. And then 6 weeks later, I got a client who was needing help with a torn meniscus. I've partially torn my right bicep connector down into the elbow. When I was younger, just dumb, I went to a gym that had a 300-pound weight stack on a cable row, and I wanted to see if I could do it. Got, I think, like a set of 6 to 8 or something. And then I started getting kind of queasy and sick later in the workout, and ended up finding out I partially tore the connective tissue for that bicep. So I was very frustrated. But about a month or so after that, I picked up a new client who was a bodybuilder, and they were struggling to get bigger arms due to a bicep connective tear that they had experienced. And I was like, well, hey, I got you covered. I know how to do that. So there have been many other examples, and so much so that I've joked with my family that God needs to find a new way for me to help people because I'm going to run out of body parts. I was like, yeah, we got to find some other strategy here. This is not the way to go. Now, in each of those setbacks that I experienced, I was able to later find out that it was a setup. I was experiencing challenges as a preparation to help someone else with the same challenge. Now, in each of those personal setbacks, I was saddened, depressed, frustrated, wished it didn't happen in the moment. But I decided to work through it. I educated myself on whatever the topic was, worked through the details, formulated an effective approach, and then I later got to help someone else through a similar issue using what I learned. I had an experience. I chose to keep seeking progression, and later was able to be better off for it in the sense of being a better coach. But I've also had personal benefits as well. My back growth actually was its absolute best after that bicep injury. I had to reanalyze my technique and be more crisp in my technique with back training. I had to change my training techniques, my workout structures. I had to really rethink and reanalyze how to train my back, and my back actually grew bigger than ever before. I've actually broken my collarbone 3 times in my life, had to have metal plates put in because it just wasn't healing, but I've still bench pressed over 400 pounds in powerlifting competition. I've had some other injuries to my lower body, meniscus tear and some other things, and I've still been able to squat 600 pounds in sleeves, deadlift 700 pounds. I've gained over 100 pounds of body weight from when I was 18 years old, but I'm even lower body fat percentage even though I'm 100 pounds heavier. So I've made great personal gains in spite of the setbacks I've had over the years. But what I felt more proud of was that the effort I put in after the setback was able to help someone else. So when I experienced the setback, I chose to keep pushing forward. I used the setbacks as set-ups for a better future, and not only for myself, but for others. The reality of the moments were in each moment, I was worse. Immediately upon experiencing the setback, my life was worse. But my perspective has been lifting and working out and building my body and progressing my health is what I do. I'm going to keep doing it, and eventually I'll progress past this, whatever this is. Whether it's an injury, health condition, whatever it might be, this is what I do. And that's me as like personal identity. I work out. I try to learn more about nutrition. I try to help people. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm going to keep doing what I do, and eventually I'll progress past this. If you don't stop, you don't stay. If I didn't want to stay there, all I had to do was not stop there. The reality of those moments was my life is now worse. But my perception was only for now. What's interesting about perspective versus reality is that your perspective is your reality. What you think determines what you do, and what you do determines what you get. If you want a better reality, develop a better perspective. Every setback can be a setup. Every bad thing you experience isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's an opportunity for you to prepare to be more resilient in the future, to overcome bigger, badder, worse things in the future. Because unfortunately, they're going to come in waves, in different degrees, different intensities, but there are tough days. If I learn how to manage today's tough day, I will better learn how to manage tomorrow or the future's tough day. What I've worked to do is to develop a mindset of a realistic optimist. What that means is good things can happen, but they're up to me to make them happen. What I mean by that is Meredith and I often joke about God, and we say, God helps those who help themselves, which means that we have to be doing something for God to then help us. Another prayer we have is bumper bowling. We ask God when we make a choice, if this is a good thing, and we run into some roadblocks or some challenges, can you just bump us back in the path? Can you help us stay on the path to get to the end? Now, in order for him to help us, like the bumpers of bumper bowling helps, you have to first throw the ball, right? The bumpers in a bumper bowling alley do not help you until you throw the ball. So we always joke that it's up to us to start. It's up to us to get the ball rolling. Oh, little dad joke there. But it's up to us to get the ball rolling. And then God can help. So a realistic optimist is good things can happen if I keep moving, if I keep doing, if I work to make them happen. When bad things happen in your life, how do you respond? Having an initial negative reaction is reasonable and human. But you want to flip that switch as quick as you can. Develop a mindset of a realistic optimist. Every setback is a set up if I make it so. I'm not being punished, I'm in preparation. Your perspective is your reality because your perspective determines your actions, and your actions determine your reality. If you don't stop, you don't stay. So, if you find yourself in a place that you do not want to be, don't stop. If you don't want to stay there, don't stop there. Keep moving. Keep trying. Learn. Learn about the situation. Learn everything you can, and then try something. Doesn't even matter if it works. Doesn't even matter if it's really that good of an idea. Just try something, because you're going to get feedback from that. You can analyze the feedback versus what you tried, adjust, and then try again. You don't even have to have a good idea of what the hell you're doing. You just have to do. Just do. If you want a different reality, change your perspective. What I try to think of in my life is to own it and earn it. When something happens, own it. It's up to me to fix this. And then earn it. Go freaking fix it. Whether I caused it or not, here it is. It's up to me now to make it different. So if I want it to be different, I have to earn it. So I first have to own it, meaning that I know it's now me. It's now on me. I bear the burden of this, whether I did it or didn't do it. It's now mine. It's mine to bear. I own it. And now, if I want it to be different, I have to go earn that. I can't bitch and whine and complain and moan, do all the same stupid shit I've been doing, and expect anything to be different. I have to own it, and I have to earn it. So I hope that can give you some motivation. A little bit of an aggressive end there, but I hope it gives you some motivation. If you find yourself in a place you don't want to stay, don't stop. Learn. Try anything. Doesn't even have to be a good idea. Just try it. See what happens, and then make an adjustment. You learn, you try, you analyze, you adjust, and you try again. That's it. You just do until you get the new. Okay? Own it and earn it. I hope that helps. If you need anything, just reach out. My email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.